Though the program that's in operation over the county is a mystery, even to the people who purportedly have some interest in the atmosphere, including a post that I found from a couple years ago in the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA. There's a study that it reports on, as I say, 3 years ago now, that I just got caught up with. It says that there's a recent increase in the abundance of particles high in the atmosphere has offset about a third of the current climate warming influence of carbon dioxide, CO2, change during the past decade, according to a new study led by NOAA and published today in the online edition of Science. Sorry. And it says that these are the aerosols are particulates, right? And that is what chemtrailing, as it's called by common parlance, is all about. It's about laying haze over Chattanooga. We have over Chattanooga, over Hamilton County, and I'd like to know about Sequatchie Valley. I'd like to know about Marion County. So if you have some observations about Marion County, please drop me an email at nuganomics.com at the contact window, nuganomics.com. And but over the populated area of Chattanooga, with all of its concrete, all of its highways, and building routes that's downtown, there's a lot of heat, right? It's a kind of a heat print that you could see from space if you looked with a heat-seeking device. That the city of Chattanooga is a lot warmer than the countryside in Sequatchie County. But it's been shown here that there's been about a third reduction of the warming influence of carbon dioxide change, which could come from coal plants, which could come from cow flatulence, or even your exhaled breath. That's CO2. That these are bad influences, right? But they've been reduced by the increase in aerosols in the sky, which is to say particulates, and that has begun since the year 2000. I think that's when, in my mind, there's coming into focus the prospective date of the increase of the government's programming of cooling the Earth in a long and expensive process. Aluminum particulates being used, nanoparticulates. They're very, very small. They're almost down to the atomic level, and they're thrown out of airplanes in cloud formations to become clouds, and that is thought to be, or presented to the operators of the program as the reason for doing it. That's why we're flying. We're not dropping bombs on enemy governments. We're dropping particulate in the atmosphere, and it showed up 3 years ago with NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. There's been a third reduction, and it says the reason for the 10-year increase in stratospheric aerosols are not fully understood. Well, that's because this is one branch of government that doesn't know what the other is doing, or can't say. I'm not sure if it's a can't or it just doesn't understand it, and are subject of ongoing research, says co-author Ryan Neely of the University of Colorado and the Cooperative Institute for Research in Environmental Science. Likely suspects are, now here, of course, the planes flying, the government-chartered planes or the government-owned planes flying over Chattanooga are not in view here, okay? Understand that. Likely suspects of this added particulate are natural sources, smaller volcanic eruptions, and or human activities which could have emitted the sulfur-containing gases, such as sulfur dioxide, that react in the atmosphere to form reflective aerosol particles. But the program is nanoparticulates. It is an industrial program. Big business is involved in this, and the military. And it is under the concept of necessity. And when necessity controls a government operation, losses to human populations are not considered. They're not really allowed to be considered. The team concluded that models miss an important cooling factor if they don't account for the influence of stratospheric aerosol or don't include recent changes in stratospheric aerosol levels. And aerosol is what's being pumped into the air every day over hundreds of cities around the world. And these commercial governments have all agreed to do that. And I noticed in this essay there's a kind of effort to have the reader join a paradigm shift we're not to think of climate, right? Don't ever think of climate as something per se. The weather outside, right? That's the climate. Or the usual weather pattern for a city. That's climate. But the concept in the story is, ultimately it says, by incorporating the ups and downs of stratospheric aerosols, climate models will be able to not only give better estimates of future climate change, okay, there's the key word, change, but also better explanations for past climate changes, right? So again, we're not talking about climate anymore. There's no such thing as climate. There's only climate change. So get that. Understand that there's no settled form in nature for rain or sun or storms or hail or dry spells. There's nothing that's fixed anymore, and it's all about change. And the reason I think this paradigm shift is important to be made from their perspective, right? They want you, the listener, if you read the story, to make the shift in paradigm, is because they want you to understand that there is no such thing as weather. Okay, it's not weather. There's only weather change, and so what we have to do, that creates a sense of anticipation. We the public, right? We commoners, we yeomen, we have to understand that we should have in our breasts an expectation that they, the good people, will save us. They will save us. They will control the weather. They will control the solar radiation. That's called SRM, solar radiation management, and that language is, I don't know, at least 15 years old, and it's in the scientific literature, though it's not always visible when you read about this topic of geoengineering. So geoengineering is taking place. It's called stratospheric aerosol geoengineering. This is something that's happening in Chattanooga, and we had a good display of it on Saturday. And I wasn't sure about Friday. I saw at the end of the day from my hilltop in North County, I saw a couple of streaks on my side of the county, but I didn't mark it down as a SAG day, SAG day, because I just wasn't sure and I was busy. So my record is perhaps not complete. But the fact that we have this program going over Hamilton County means that there's a government interest in, of course, public perception. And even here in Chattanooga, through the social media, government and government contractors, universities, think tanks, and professors are all involved in managing expectations. And of course, there are paradigm shifts in language, which from climate to climate change, in which the public is slowly massaged into having an expectation that we have to do something, and things are being done. And that's why, at some point, I think if we hope the best for Edward Snowden's cache of information about the NSA and programs on the dark budget, we will find, I believe, some justification for our premature analyses and our speculations about chemtrailing over Chattanooga. We are being chemtrailed, and it is. I know last year, the summer, the sun was weak, and I didn't put any of this together last year, but the sun was weak, and I noticed that last summer. I said, why is the sun so weak? It's a hot day, but the sun is not strong. There's no ferocity in it. I didn't put anything together, though I must say I have photographs of major chemtrail days that are 12 years old. I took a roll of film one day before going into work at the newspaper of a heavy chemtrail day. I have date and all, and including photographs that show chemtrails being turned on and off over our skies here in Chattanooga.